When I decided that the college football playoff is the way I wanted to go, which I think I was about 3.5, I thought it would be pretty easy. I thought 12 teams, didn't make a lot of sense, but fine. I was personally an atheist or eightist. I wanted 8 teams. I thought that was good. I didn't think 9 could stand a realistic shot of winning a championship, and I still don't. But with the way they have it now, who knows? I had an idea in my mind, Caleb, that it would just be a very simple formula like the old BCS. We would figure it out on Sunday morning. We wouldn't have to wait for some goofball television show on Tuesday night. But as it turns out, none of that has happened. So I want to get into some of the things that are being bantied about when it comes to the college football playoff committee, and some of them are just completely asinine. But first, where are we compared to where you thought we would be going into last year?
At this moment, we have the 2025 college football playoff format set after they agreed to do straight seeding as opposed to this whole seeding by conference champion thing that they did last year. That's been agreed upon. That's as far as we've gone. I thought that they would have the 2026 format and beyond set up after yesterday. And I reported on this yesterday, the Big Ten and SEC walked away at a stalemate. Now, the key stalemate is this. The Big Ten wants automatic qualifiers. The SEC, they want a certain number of teams for every conference. The SEC wants to do a 5+11 model where you just take the 5 best conference champions and then you just take the best 11 teams after that, regardless of what conference they're in.
And let me provide some context here. The SEC wants this because they believe bare minimum they're going to get 4 teams in, and sometimes they may get 5 or 6. So they wouldn't want the Big Ten's automatic, or anybody else's automatic for that matter, pulling away from their potential to have another team in the playoff.
Exactly. And it's not so much the Big Ten having 4 automatic bids, but whereas the SEC is the Big 12 having 2 and the ACC having 2, because that could pull away from the SEC. So that's the SEC's contention. They want a 5+11 model where you have the 5 conference champions and then just the 11 best teams after that. They also want a much heavier weight of schedule strength by the selection committee, even if that involves a formula, which you and I are both pro formula people. Now, the Big Ten has come back and said, we don't want that model because the SEC has an unfair advantage because they only play 8 conference games and we have to play 9. The SEC...
Okay, which I understand the point, but in all honesty, it's kind of a moot point because the middle of the pack as Big Ten teams that, such as Syracuse, that the SEC is facing are about on the same tier. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I agree. The SEC has come back and basically said, if we do 9 games, we want guarantees of a much more heavily weight on schedule strength for those 1 to 3 at-large bids, if there's the automatic qualifier format. And that's tough for the SEC, but the other drawback for the SEC is that, and this is the really hard part, they want a guarantee of more money from ESPN if they're going to go to 9 conference games, because their argument to ESPN is, we're giving you guys an extra conference game. We're making you guys a lot more money. You need to share some of that money with us. So they want to renegotiate their contract with ESPN before they go to 9 conference games. And ESPN, for obvious reasons, doesn't want to renegotiate that contract because ESPN's got the sweetest deal in all of deals when it comes to sports rights with the SEC.
Yeah, and they're going to lose those eventually. I think you'd agree with that. When they go to a super conference, ESPN's going to have to re-up. I don't know, though, how complicated it is to divvy up all that money. General Ursa says waiting for a super league with 8 conferences with an 8-team conference champion only playoff.
You got to have wild cards to a certain degree. You got to make because if you're going to do that, you got to make non-conference games matter somewhat.
Yeah, but I was an atheist. I would have gone with, at the time, I would have gone to the conference champions of the 5 major conferences. Now it's 4, and I would have picked up 3 wild card teams.
Yeah, what I would have done, what I always wanted, and I was with you, and I actually thought this would have done what I wanted, which was preserve the value of the regular season. Take the 5 major conference champions, and right now it's 4. Take one lower conference, like the best team of all the lower schools, right? Of this bottom half. Just take the best team of them, give them a shot, go let them get their brains blown out, and then take 2 wild card teams out of that. I
Yeah,
think that
I just don't know of many years. There are a lot of years, almost every year, where we say the ninth highest seeded team in basketball could win a championship, right?
yeah, exactly. You know,
Usually it's around to me 8 or 12 teams that I think, yeah, I could definitely see them hoisting a trophy. In football, when do we ever say that the ninth best team is closing the year strong or that found its own or that something it's just Cinderellas just don't happen.
it's never more than really 6. I would say it's never more than 6. Now, I get it. Yeah, actually, you're right. It's never more than 6. And just so people know, this past year, for people who talk about Ohio State, yes, they were the 8th seed in the playoff, but they were ranked number 6 in the college football playoff. It's never more than 6 teams that have a chance to win it all. It never
And I
has
thought
been.
Ohio State was a bit surprising as well. So what were the top 6? I'm curious in the ranking.
Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Yeah, it was never more than 6. Nobody. And by the way, some of those teams didn't even have a chance to win it. I mean, honestly, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, and Oregon were the only teams with a chance to win it.
Well, you have to give Notre Dame credit for getting there.
You do. That's
I mean, I tend to agree with you. The eye test, I'm like, Notre Dame was not on that same.
yeah.
But
And so we're being generous when we say 8. And the reason we're being generous is the reason we're saying 8 is okay, get a couple of other teams. Okay, now you got every team that has a chance, and then a couple of teams that may think they have a chance that have the opportunity to maybe score an upset and then like I said, get their brains blown out when they play somebody good.
all right, let's go some of the 4 downs that I want to throw out there because listen, college football is changing right now.
And
And
these are the potential compromises that they'll have.
yeah.
with what happens.
So let's get to it now. It is 4 downs brought to you by our good friends at Ted Russell Ford, Ted Russell Lincoln on Parkside Drive in Kingston Pike, East Tennessee's largest volume dealer. You'll be so glad you chose Ted Russell.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Employee pricing is here. You pay what we pay on all new Ford models. Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
All right, so let's dive into this right now. 4 downs brought to you not only by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln, but also brought to you by this guy.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thanks, Coop. First down.
Coop here. First down.
All right, first point on this, go.
So the first potential compromise that they will come out, and these are my predictions, by the way, of one of these 3 things is going to happen. The first potential compromise, the automatic qualifier takes hold, which is 4 teams for the SEC, 4 teams for the Big 10, 2 for the Big 12, 2 for the ACC, 1 group of 5. That is 13 teams automatically getting in per conference based on conferences, and then an at-large bid of 1 or 3. Now, here's the compromise because the SEC doesn't want that. The compromise is the at-large bids are 3 instead of 1, and the College Football Playoff Selection Committee heavily weighs strength of schedule metrics for those 3 at-large bids.
I think that's what's going to happen. So I'll also give it. I think it's going to happen, but I don't like that it's going to happen.
I don't like the at-large bids either. I'm not a fan of the at-large bids, but I wasn't a fan of the 12-team playoff. I'm not a fan of the 16-team playoff. I wasn't a fan of a playoff. So I've already lost this battle.
All right. What's next? The 5.
I thought you were going to give me Cooper. I need Coop.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't. Cooper's got to spot the
Coop
ball.
here. First down.
That's right.
And then I need that was first down. I need Coop to set up second down.
Oh, man.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Sorry about that. We're
Dave's that ref that takes forever to spot the ball in a college football game.
Well, you got to get your camera time.
Okay, so second down. Here's the other compromise. This is possible now because the SEC does go to 9 games, at which point we get the 5+11 model the SEC wants, and the SEC negotiates a deal with ESPN to get a significantly larger portion of money.
And again, the 5-11 is 5 automatic bids winning the conference, and then 11
at large, just the best 11 outside of that. Yes. They go to a 5+11 model, while the SEC goes to 9 games and gets a giant chunk of money from ESPN to do so.
I don't see that happening because then I think the Big Ten would want their chunk of money, and they're already getting too much.
Well, no, but the SEC. This is the SEC's own personal negotiations with ESPN with their TV deals. The SEC would renegotiate their current contract with ESPN.
I just think Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten, would probably call Greg Sankey and say, just throwing this out there. Wouldn't be the end of the day if you didn't renegotiate your television deal square dab in the middle of it. Because then, then I'm going to want to do mine. I think there's a lot of pressure just to stick by your contract on this. I see where you're going.
Right, but Greg Sankey could come in and say this contract was based on when we had 14 teams that had an 8-game schedule. You guys, ESPN, won a 9-game schedule. What Greg Sankey can sell to ESPN that Tony Petitti can't sell to the networks is, look at how much more money you'll get with that extra SEC game per team.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that seems to me like a hard sell if I'm in. I'm going to fight it every step in the way, right?
Yes, okay. Totally agree.
All right, here we go.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
All right, what's third down, Coop?
All right, third down is the 2025 model stays as it is. Just 12 teams, top 5 conference champions, 4 teams get a first-round bye, but the College Football Playoff Committee reverts to a formula like the Basketball Power Index or the net rankings in the NCAA, and they put a ton of value on schedule strength. They put significantly more than they put last year, at which point Alabama and South Carolina would have gotten in over SMU and Indiana.
Okay, so last down is this.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
Which one is more likely? I love the work you put into this, but I don't think any are. I think they'll just hold pat till 2026. They haven't made.
Well, this is about what's likely for 2026.
Right. And they'll just hold pat for 2026, and don't be surprised if they hold pat for 2027. They don't know what to do until they take the major jump of making a super conference. If they do that, they'll feel the need to change some things around. Until that point, I have no faith that something's going to be changed.
Let's just put it out there. Josh Bate has said this before, and we need to say it here. College football is a great product that is run by very average people. And that's been college football's problem.
You ever met a bowl committee? Good Lord.
Oh, God, those
that's the truth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a great product run by average people. And I'm not just saying, I'm going to say it.
Heck, you can do pine straw and get into college football.
Exactly. And here's where the average people are. It's not actually the commissioners, because Dave, you and I both know this. The commissioners are puppets to be faces of the athletic directors and presidents of those universities, right?
Yes.
The athletic directors and presidents are the problem. They are the problem of this sport right now, because they all have competing interests that are not for the. They all have competing interests that are not for the betterment of college football and it's doing the sport.
Can't argue with that.